Hello, and welcome to South Park Commons. My name is Arian, and along with the entire SPC team in New York and who came out from San Francisco, I have the pleasure of welcoming you to our new New York City community space. For those of you that have worked in or traveled to San Francisco, you're likely familiar with South Park Street. It's that small, one long block park, an oasis in the middle of Soma. Technologists, founders, and investors are known to walk the loop and imagine the future. It's the namesake of our community and fund, and it's where our founder, Ruchi Songvi, a technologist, founder, and investor all in one, herself opened up the original South Park Commons, or SPC as we call it. You're all probably wondering, why are we talking about San Francisco? This group is certainly dressed better and looking like we're having a lot more fun than if we were in San Francisco. SPC opened its doors in New York City 2 years ago. Demand from our community members made it an obvious expansion. And since then, we've grown to over 200 members and alumni in New York, many of whom are here today. We are in our second office in the city to support the growing ecosystem. SPC is the single most talent-dense community of individuals and teams in New York. So give it up for all of our members. And while the Bay Area thinks very highly of itself, New York City is the capital of the world. And as our investor friends in the room are well aware, it's the best place to come and commercialize product across industries. So sorry, San Francisco. Just kidding. In fact, today we're joined by founders both building their company here in New York, as well as those that flew across the country to meet their customers and investors here. South Park Commons is a community of builders helping each other navigate the -1 to 0, the squiggle, as we call it. Building is in the DNA of every single member that we invite to join. And as you can read on the manifesto on our wall when you enter, people don't come here to play it safe. So, in true SPC spirit, today, at the first Demo Faire in New York City, what you will see are live demos, not decks and not recordings. Right, folks? So we're tempting the demo gods once again. Just like this city, these demos will span verticals from education, content generation, consumer enterprise, data infrastructure, legal, and health. You're not here to listen to me talk. So who's ready to see some demos? We'll have 10 teams presenting today. Those teams will tell and show you what they're working on, including a 5-minute demo, and there'll be 3 minutes for questions. I'm gonna let our first presenter come on up so he can start getting set up. Each team will introduce themselves, share their vision and demo, and what you'll get to see today is just a glimpse of what we do at SPC every single day. I'm excited for Arman to be the first demo today. Arman spent time at the White House, at CZI, and has dedicated his career to improving education. And Brisk is just the beginning.
So a little bit about Brisk. So Brisk is a Chrome extension for teachers. One thing that we've noticed as digital technology has spanned the classroom is that teachers are using too many tools. They use over 140 in a given school year to accomplish different tasks. If you're really thinking about end-to-end automation, you can't actually start with the legacy systems that are pigeonholed, and you can't build a point solution. So how do you solve a problem when the reality is teachers have too many tools in the first place? We decided to start with the Chrome extension. We think that this is a really interesting way to wedge in because it allows us to be able to integrate within the curriculum that teachers are using and the tools they're using as well. So what I'm gonna do is click on the Brisk icon on the bottom right. You'll see a couple of options. I can create content, so I can create quizzes, presentations, all of that stuff just based on what I'm looking at. But I can also decide to change the reading level. Teachers spend an inordinate amount of time finding resources that are relevant for their learners. So with a click, Brisk will tell me what the reading level of the text is, and I automatically can change it to a different reading level. In addition, if I instead wanted to upload a PDF and do that instead, I can do that. And within seconds, Brisk is directly integrated with Google Docs, so it allows you to change the reading level of a text automatically. So reading level is calculated looking at the length of sentences and the types of words that are used. And there are several edtech unicorns that do just this thing by itself. But teaching is not as simple as creating content. It's about the interconnections between different pieces of content. And so as a teacher, I can do something like create a lesson plan based on this, create a quiz or a vocab list. Let's create a quiz about this article. I can actually select the specific state standards I want it to cover, for example, and attach them to the assessment. And then I can create it in a Google Doc or a new Google form. And within seconds, what it'll do is take that content as a first pass and start drafting it in a Google form quiz, which is currently the #1 way in which teachers are assessing students for completion in this new digital world. And the answer's already set, so a teacher can assign it directly. Another opportunity is to start with a YouTube video. So often teachers are using things like Khan Academy videos or other piece of content to be able to use as a starting point. With Brisk, I can immediately go and create a presentation about this YouTube video, pick a template, pick the number of slides I wanted to cover. I also have this option to personalize my learners, and this uses retrieval augmented generation to take context from around the edtech stack on the specific students and inject that context to be able to make it the most relevant for students as well. And in seconds, it'll take that YouTube transcript and use it as a starting point to create a presentation. This normally takes teachers an inordinate amount of time, or they're going to Teachers Pay Teachers to be able to create this content, and we can do it in seconds. The next thing I'm gonna do is show you our feedback tool. Now, this is the #1 thing that teachers spend time doing in a given week. They spend hours grading assignments. And quickly, I can open up Brisk, I can say give feedback, I can pick a feedback style, I can upload a rubric. I've already uploaded this rubric. I actually created this rubric using Brisk, which is something that you can do. And in seconds, what it's going to do is read this entire assignment and then draft first pass feedback directly in the Google Doc comments, as you can see here. This would normally take a teacher probably 30 minutes to read by themselves, and they can do it in seconds. You can go in and edit it, but it provides a great first pass. And this isn't just directly in Google Docs. You can open a learning management system, so this is Canvas's speed grader, and you can instantly give the same type of feedback in seconds as well. What happens, as you can kind of see here, is we actually do this personalization. So as a teacher spends more feedback, we can understand which pieces of feedback the teachers are actually using, and then we create a style guide and inject that directly back into the context, so we get better over time. And being able to give feedback across different assignments is incredibly important. So right now, I'm here, but I can also generate this feedback across different assignments and then summarize it. Next, what I'm gonna show you is probably something that a lot of kids hate. We get a bunch of negative reviews, but teachers love it. It allows teachers to understand the version history of an assignment. As you can imagine, a lot of teachers are struggling with students using AI to take shortcuts around assignments. And we found this really innovative way. Instead of building an AI checker, which is kind of doomed in the first place, we allow teachers to replay the version history of an assignment over time, like a video. We highlight the largest copy-paste events in the Google Docs history, which allows a teacher to really quickly understand whether a student copied and pasted. So something that's been pretty helpful for teachers as they navigate this really interesting space. I know I'm probably running a little long. We have a student-facing version of Brisk, which allows students to be able to use AI across their workflow. And so encourage you to kind of check it out on your own. But I'll end with kind of a call to action, which is please share Brisk with any of the teachers that you personally know, or if you have kids, share it with their teachers. And lastly, for those who think that EdTech cannot make any money, we don't really sell Brisk. All of this interest is inbound on enterprise, and we've been able to generate significant amounts of revenue in the last couple of months. Thank you so much.
Stay up here. Actually, you can stay. Anyone have any questions for Arman? Yep.
Is the teacher driving this themselves, or is this from the institution level? Is the school going to say, I want you to do this, or is the teacher going to be like, I do this makes my life easier, and are there rules against doing that? Yeah, so the question is, how are teachers using it? Is the school mandating it, or is it bottoms up? So we do have a free version of the product that we offer to teachers, and then they tend to talk to their districts or schools to get the premium version of the product. So we find that it's primarily bottoms up at this point.
You mentioned the learning on first pass feedback, and so you're learning from the things that teachers are using versus not using. Are you also taking their input and feedback as like a prompt to then add to the feedback loop for the system itself?
So is the question, are we taking content that they don't generate using Brisk and using that to inform the personalization?
User-generated content from the teacher for feedback on the actual assignment.
Right now we don't, but we plan on having like a more privacy-aware version to be able to opt into that ability so that you can take organic, human-created content to also further personalization.
Is it pricing in terms of pricing, is it sort of per seat basis, or are you going to just price it as a, just like one license for school?
We do site-wide or district-wide licenses that we calculate based on looking at the student enrollment of the site or district. Cool. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Arman. It's always tough to be first with the technical difficulties, but you crushed it. Our next team, I'm very excited to introduce Priyaa and Purvanshi to come on up and get set up and tell us about Lica. You may recognize these two, especially if you are San Francisco based. They clean house at hackathons all over the city, from what I've come to understand. And Lica is building a universal canvas where anything can be generative.
Hi everyone, we're Lica. We're building a universal canvas, like Aryan said, to create and consume media of any kind. So we'll jump right in and show you what that really means. Jan LeCun, the chief scientist at Meta, gave a talk a couple of months ago. It went viral on Twitter for all the wrong reasons. People were pointing out mistakes in his slide, how long the talk was, and for the purposes of this demo, we clipped the 1-hour talk into this 5 minutes video so we can demonstrate what Lica can do. We believe at Lica, you should be able to create and consume content in any format. No stories should be trapped inside a format that someone don't wants to consume in. So what we're going to do is jump right in and show you what Lica can do to this 1-hour talk.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just take this link, copy this URL. So this is our platform. You can generate a blog, video, podcast, or anything. I'm just going to click a page. A page means like all the 3 things in one click. Just going to do a next. My story is just a YouTube video link. For blog, I'm just going to keep it very simple. Just going to be like summarize with visuals for people who like to read. For video, I'm going to type something as like 30 seconds, teaser video, make it interesting, right? Don't want to be boring. I can pick an avatar, but honestly, it takes a couple of minutes. Just gonna keep it simple. Let's choose a male voice, landscape. We are a lot of people, everyone can see it. For podcasts, I wanna be innovative, so let's go with like a conversation between two Gen Z kids. And yeah, I want a dialogue. Sure, you can add music. So I'm just gonna click on generate. At the back end, what it does is it recognizes which modality input we give. So it's saying, yeah, downloading from YouTube. At the back end of Lica is powered by a multimodal design orchestrator model. It predicts what design actions need to be taken for converting any video or text to any other different format. We do any-to-any conversions. What it means is like take a webinar or like a Zoom video or presentation or like a document and convert it into infographic, summary, podcast, conversation, or a presentation. So yeah, it's super cool. It's still working on. I mean, come on, like if a human was generating all of this, it would take them at least 2 days, and that also with a lot of design experience. So
And a couple of $1,000s.
yeah, not to mention the money here. So yeah, we'll wait a few seconds. So yeah, the video is generated. I'm just gonna play this.
In a data-filled world, how does AI compare to natural intelligence? Let's hear from Jan LeCun.
Okay, machine learning sucks.
AI struggles where humans excel, in learning quickly, world understanding, planning, and objective-driven behavior. Just as in Her, LeCun hints at a near future where AI blends seamlessly into the fabric of our lives. He asserts that realizing this vision with smart assistants like augmented reality glasses requires AI to reach human-level intelligence.
I'm actually wearing smart glasses right now. I can take a picture of you guys.
For a deeper understanding, watch Jan LeCun's complete talk.
So we were able to orchestrate parts of what was seen in the original visuals with some AI-generated voiceovers and also summarize the content effectively. But let's go back. I think we also gave prompts to generate a blog post, but I'm not gonna have you guys suffer through and read this 3 paragraphs right now. So I'm a podcast person, so let's go listen to the Gen Z dialogue that we wanted. Like,
yo, Jamie, did you catch Jan LeCun throwing shade at AI? He was like, machine learning sucks. Mic drop much?
Totally. He's not here for any basic AI antics. He's like, you can't even learn fast? Ghost. Me. Now.
For real, he's all humans and animals are the OG quick learners. AI, you're on thin ice.
And yo, did you see him flex those smart glasses? Just, hey Meta, snap a pic, and boom, photo snapped.
Obviously, but he's also throwing real talk, saying let's be sus about AI being like us humans. We're miles away from that level of chill.
Facts. To watch Jan spill the hard truths and speak power to tech, tune into it.
so as you can see, our goal at Lica is you should be able to consume the internet on your terms. You should be able to create content the way you want. So we're building this universal canvas powered by a multimodal model that can unlock all of these possibilities. If you would rather listen to me in someone else's voice or just as an AI presenting a video to you, we can make all of that happen. You can go sign up for our early beta access program, and we would love to have you on our platform creating a ton of fun stuff.
Yeah, I have like started getting my team updates as videos, so that has been super cool.
And I don't read her lengthy Slack messages. It's just a podcast. I don't want to go through that suffering. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Amazing. I knew they wouldn't disappoint. Who has questions for Priyaa and Purvanshi?
I was wondering if you trained a custom model to power this, or are you like using other models or API calls?
So we have built, so we're using multiple models here. We do use parts of it involves using GPT-4 to generate the screenplay. But then also there's other models that understands like the input. So it's an orchestration of multiple design models. And that's why we believe that there's not going to be one single model. So we're building an orchestrator layer that can understand for this particular design action, we need this model, and these are the sets of sequence of events that we need to execute.
Just to add, the proprietary model that we have is like an action-based prediction model. And it's like a AGI for design that we want to build, which can understand all forms of design actions. And the design actions can be open source or closed source or third party too.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to invite Shreyas and Varun up from interviewer to start getting set up. Shreyas and Varun are on a mission to have AI replace you when it comes to interviewing. And fun fact about this team, Varun and I were on the hook for convincing Shreyas to move from San Francisco, I believe. And we were very successful. So, welcome. I'll let you guys take it from here.
Hey guys, I'm Varun.
I'm Shreyas.
And we're the founders of Interviewer. And Interviewer builds agents that think and sound like human interviewers. You might be thinking, I work at a Series B startup that hired -5 people last year. Who needs to replace an interviewer? But if you think about something like retail, where there's thousands and thousands of locations and you hire tons of people at each location, interviewing adds up pretty fast. So we're just going to show you how this works. I'm going to be interviewing for a retail sales associate at Uniqlo. By the way, a job I applied for in high school and did not get. Shout out to the Quaker Bridge Mall.
Cool. Just like a real interview environment, everybody please be quiet. Thank you.
Hi, this is Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay, Steve.
You are interviewing for a retail associate role. Let's get started if that sounds good.
Sounds great.
Tell me about your past experience and how it relates to this role.
Yeah, so I've spent 6 years in different customer-facing roles. I spent 2 years working in customer support at a call center, 2 years as a front of house at Papa John's, and then 2 years as a sales associate at Macy's.
Given your diverse experience in customer-facing roles, how have you applied lessons learned from one role to another, particularly in improving customer satisfaction?
Yeah, I think one of the things you learn really fast in retail is that there's like a standard operating playbook for how to deal with customers, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of one-off customer problems that you don't see coming, and being able to think on your feet and deal with these one-off situations is a pretty challenging task.
That's insightful. Can you share a specific example where you had to think on your feet to resolve a unique customer issue?
Yeah, so one time there was this giant-sized child that came into Macy's. This kid had size 22 shoes. He was like this shack of children. And we had to find an adult shoe that would fit for him. So we had to first figure out how to use a ruler because nobody uses those anymore. And then we had to figure out what adult shoe size does he have, what shoe in an adult size would look cool for like a 10-year-old, and then also during this process keeping the child and his parents pretty comforted and happy about the situation that was going on.
Great example of adaptability and empathy. How did you ensure the solution you found met both the child's needs and his parents' expectations?
Well, there was a couple of things. First of all, we saw that the child wasn't crying, which is a good sign. But secondly, we also made sure that this child had a purchase. And I think with any type of retail role, the biggest thing that you can have is a successful purchase at the store. That means that you've done your job great.
That's a practical way to gauge satisfaction. In reflecting on that situation, is there anything you would do differently now with more experience?
So we're going to end here, but what will happen as soon as we end is we'll be scored immediately, and then every company who does one of these interviews gets a recording, a summary, a scorecard of what happened. And as you can see, it'll tell you exactly what happened during the interview, why it did or didn't pass, and thank you. And it all goes to the candidate, and what this allows you to do is interview many, many people in parallel at once. So what's the real use case here? If you're Chipotle, last year you hired 20,000 people, and generously assume that you hired 25% of the applicants that applied. Every single time you interviewed one of these 80,000 people, it took $8 and 30 minutes away from someone's shift. And you can see how that price and time adds up really fast. Plus, your average Chipotle shift leader is not exactly Tim Ferriss. So what we can do is we can interview all these 80,000 people as soon as they apply at 1/10 of the cost and without any of the time deficit. So we're Interviewer. We're, to badly quote Daft Punk, cheaper, better, faster, stronger. So we are starting with interviews, but we're fundamentally evaluating what humans do or don't know at any given point in time, and we have a lot of exciting plans and use cases for the future. So if you want to get in touch with us with any potential customers or anything else, feel free to reach us here. It's a little QR code, and you can always come say hi to me and Shrey too. We're pretty friendly.
Awesome. Great job. Anyone want to ask? Perfect.
Nice demo, guys. I'm curious, what's stopping candidates from building an AI and doing all these interviews?
It's a great question. If I was in a candidate's shoes, I would do the same thing. I will say there's a couple things we have in place. One is just making sure that a candidate's not switching browser tabs, can't look up answers to the question. But we're also video recording, doing one-way video recording of candidates to ensure and monitoring and analyzing that recording to make sure that they're not cheating, their body language isn't changing during the course of the interview. So that's one big thing for us is kind of seeing that recording, and it actually gives away a lot of cues. And we've started by interviewing a lot of people offshore, and naturally they cheat a lot more than we actually do in the States here. So that's been one of our biggest priorities is making sure that people don't cheat.
In terms of sort of the brands, the HR that you're approaching with this, do you feel that there's hesitancy for the brand name? Because the idea of we're using AI to interview potential employees, how do they feel about that?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'll say this two ways. One from the candidate angle. One from the candidate, on one end, you're being interviewed by AI, but you have to think of the alternative, which is doing a one-way video assessment where if you've ever taken a higher view, it's like being in a hostage video. Everyone hates it. And also, you get to kind of go and be your best self. It's not biased or anything like that from the candidate side of you. From the company side of view, we're not going to Figma or OpenAI, where employer brand's a huge priority. We're going to companies that have to hire a lot of people really fast, and employers kind of have a little more leverage than the employees. So we're very deliberate of this is a behavior that's going to take a while to get used to, and we want to be strategic of which types of companies we start with.
How do you guys think about a more vertical use case like interviewing versus something that can do cold calls as well as interviewing or get feedback on performance reviews, and what's the need for a vertically focused application within recruiting?
That's a great question. So we think that we want to eventually own the entire stack. And to be honest, interviewing, training, we don't view ourselves as a recruiting company, I think is the short answer to that. This is a start for us to kind of go into bigger and better applications that are more vertical.
Great demo. How do y'all think about latency? Humans are very sensitive to minor differences in latency when we're having a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few vectors there that I think the biggest vector is there's so many different providers that are coming out these days. Who knows what actually works? You can have certain benchmarks, you can do simulated tests, but the best is actually to test it in the wild. And then we're building out infrastructure to essentially dynamically determine what providers to use based on what latency works at given times during the day. Also, there's another vector of caching with respect to given what this candidate said, can we map that to some sort of, let's just placeholder and say embedding representation or something, and then ultimately mapping that to a text-to-speech cache, and that latency is near zero. And so I think the more data that we get with interviews, the more we can understand what those embedding representations should be, the better a caching we'll get, the better the infrastructure and what providers to actually use will be, and all of this will just go down over time. Not to mention latency for all of these models in the stack are going to get way better over the next year.
Great demo, guys. Really curious in terms of why you guys decided with this vertical and these set of companies. You guys both come from a software engineering background, and given how expensive it is to do initial interviews for engineering, and how objective you can make it with different kind of lead code type questions, curious why you guys didn't start at an industry like that.
First of all, unfortunately for Vanderbilt's computer science department, I am not a very good software engineer for starters. But I will say for us, our background, Shrey worked at Checker, I worked at Instacart. We know high labor operations really, really well. I think one of the things that a lot of recruiting companies have kind of done is go after that segment that you mentioned, which is like, you know, the Figmas and, you know, whatever hot startup of the year is. And for us, we kind of view it as demand's never going to be consistent there. Sometimes you will have a lot of demand in 2021. In 2022, you'll be kind of just bored, I guess. So for us, we want to go in a place where demand is consistent and we can kind of build out scale as fast as possible.
Thank you both. And while we have Ben and Alex get set up to share us more about Tapt, I think everybody here knows how broken the healthcare system in America is. And what they're working on is hopefully making musculoskeletal health a lot better for all of us. You guys ready?
Okay. I'm not going to touch that. Okay. Hi, everyone. Last guys here before break, so stay with us. We're Tapt Health. I'm Ben. This is Alex. I'll make sure to focus here. We are helping employers reduce their musculoskeletal healthcare spend with an AI-enabled network of physical therapy providers. And so our platform helps providers with AI-powered insights for diagnosis and clinical treatment plans to get patients better faster and more frequently, non-invasively, to save expensive imaging and surgeries in healthcare's most expensive subsector. So before I talk more about the business model, we're going to do a live demo. Is anyone here having lower back pain and comfortable being a good sport to talk to about their pain in front of this live audience? You can raise your hand and stand up.
Wait, just lower back or upper back?
We'll start with lower back. Okay. All right, we have this is a truly live demo. Are you associated with SPC?
Not quite.
All right, so this is live here. All right, what's your first name?
Hi, my name is Arash.
Okay. All right, I'm just going to give you a fake. Let's make this HIPAA compliant as possible here. All right, I'm going to start a visit. And what we're going to do is we're going to do like a simulated evaluation. I may just grab this because I'm going to be talking to you. Okay. So I'm going to start recording. Is this okay?
Yeah, you're good. You can just take a step in.
Okay. So can you tell me about your low back pain today? Like is it hurting? When did it start?
Basically, I ran the Brooklyn Half Marathon on Sunday, and it was a lot for me, and my entire body hurts, and especially like bending, anything like lower back, is just kind of in pain.
Okay. So it's been only hurting for like 5 days now?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's acute pain. And so you're saying that bending, so like end range of motion when you're going down to the ground is what's causing the pain?
Yeah, even standing, like right now, it's a little bit uncomfortable to stand, and it's been so for multiple days.
Okay. And so just to be clear, it's aggravated when you're flexing, right? Like your bending is flexing. This is extension. I wouldn't have to say this, but I'm kind of empowering all of you to be physical therapists as well. Okay.
I would say as long as I'm not lying down, it's in pain.
All right. So tell me about your pain range.
It's not like overwhelming pain. I would say like maybe call it a 3-4.
Okay. So moderate irritability. So it's right 4 to 6. So I now have this for posterity's sake. Pretend that you're on a table. I'm going to take a couple measurements. Okay. So your lumbar flexion is 70%. Left rotation is 25% of normal. Right rotation is 75%. Your hip flexion is 3+ out of 5 on the left and 4- on the right. So just a few measurements there. We've listened to a lot of physical therapy visits last year, so we know what we're doing. Okay, so now I have a plan. This gives me what I need. I can press on this, and it's going to give me some actual treatments that I can do with the patient the first day with the proper diagnostic path to get the patient better as fast as possible. So I have nerve glides, right, desensitizing your nervous system, bridges to hit with like glute stability. You're probably feeling back pain because you were running with your back because your glutes gave out in the half marathon.
That's right.
And then plank for core stability. So just 3 things to start the first day. It's important for people, the TikTok generation, to get better fast before they freak out and see a doctor and get an MRI, which costs the same as 30 physical therapy appointments. All right, so we're done now. Done with the session. Now I'm going to build the note. So we're helping with diagnosis, but we're also a fully functional scribe for physical therapists. We already classified this as a HIPAA-back incident, a different tech stack than the clinical pathway, and now we're basically mining it with our own templates for structured data. So all the things I dictated, all the things that you said to me are gonna come out in this note, and this is the structured data from disparate data sources on top of things like intake paperwork, weekly outcomes forms that we're mining together as you go through the course of therapy to give you optimal treatment and optimal recovery time. This should only be a few more seconds before I can show you. All right, perfect. So this is the note, everything that I dictated and that we talked about. Okay, so you ran the half marathon, your pain scale, all the measurements, the treatments that we're doing, or in a basic emphasis, treatment emphasis and presentation. All right, so this is the tech stack right now. So I want to talk to you about the elephant in the room. Why are we helping employers save on MSK costs when there's a lot of solutions out there? The problem is that all these solutions are virtual physical therapy primarily, and the data from Rock Health last year shows that among all subspecialties of medicine, PT and non-invasive MSK is the least likely for a patient to treat themselves virtually. 82% of patients prefer to be treated in person for care. And if you want to go in person for musculoskeletal injury, you really have two options. The high volume, lower quality in-network options, which you can afford, and then there's high quality, cash-based, full hour session, which maybe founders who exited can afford, but most of us are stuck not being able to afford. There is a issue at the middle ground, and it's caused by a vicious cycle of dropping reimbursements in a fee-for-service system. So if every year the reimbursements are dropping a little, labor costs go up, the only way to make the model work is a really high volume. They're called factory mills. And so the incentives are broken with the payers in the system. And so Tapt Health, by using data and allowing physical therapists and like non-invasive providers to practice at the top of their game, can help change the incentives. We can connect the employer directly with the providers and enable the employers to have lower healthcare costs, the providers to have higher reimbursements, to have higher quality care, and change a bad cycle into a virtuous cycle. And so that's the summary of the incentives and where we're looking to head. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That was really live. I think we've got a lot of half marathon runners in this room. Any questions for Ben and Alex?
Really cool demo, guys. It seemed like you guys did a really good job separating the noise of a conversation, explaining the demo to us from the actually generating notes. Mm-hmm. Any insights on like how you guys did that? And then I guess the other question I had was around just dealing with medical terminology and LLMs. Like how have you guys managed to tackle that?
Yeah. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah. I mean, I think we've definitely started with like the hardest medical appointments because PT appointments is like an hour long and they spend a lot of it just talking about their days. It's interesting because I don't think we're doing anything crazy special. The AI is pretty good at understanding what is clinically relevant, what isn't, but we're definitely capturing a lot of medical data that we can use. There's two parts of this, right? Speech to text, which there's some medical jargon that isn't in like typical models. And then also just the text to structured data in both parts.
Yeah, but just to be clear, I mean, we have done thousands of PT visits already, so our initial product is just a scribe. And so there was months of hard work to get the notes formatted and consistent and able to handle a wide variety of treatment types. Thanks.
In terms of your initial go-to-market, are you mostly focused on self-insured employers who want to reduce like spend on claims, or more so on the actual PT clinics and then use them to figure out who are like common employers or employees that they have as customers?
That's a great question. Any network effect model is going to be challenging from go-to-market. So we have relationships with a lot of physical therapy clinics from scribing, including enterprise chains. We believe that, and we have a partner with hundreds and hundreds of clinics that we're working with, by being able to work with big players in physical therapy that are interested in these data insights for themselves. Maybe there's a few physical therapy chains big enough to be able to take their own alternate payment contracts. We're going to get the evidence that we need on how many sessions it takes to reduce costs, longitudinal data claims, to basically convince an employer who's, I mean, let's be real, 2024 you have fatigue as an employer benefits manager of people coming to you with that business model. But the reality is in an industry like MSK, you have to go that high. Right? There's so many complex incentives on risk-bearing care navigators, utilization management companies, payers, and when you talk to these people about what's your MSK pathway, they're like, we have no clue. And so we gotta get there, but we gotta get there with good data. So it is first starting to say, like, can we build something that is useful for PTs? PTs will pay, big chains will pay some SaaS fees for, and then get the data to go to employers with that.
Any other questions?
If you see someone in person once or twice a week, they give you something to
Yep.
do at home. Have you thought about how to support that?
Of course. I guess this is a good time to take a step back and say, I'm a mission-driven founder in the space. I have had 24 surgeries and I've been in PT my whole life. When I left Peloton to go from connected fitness to rehab, compliance and engagement was an initial focus from the patient side. And as I kind of learned about, okay, there's a lot of undifferentiated remote therapeutic monitoring solutions that are trying to do home exercise programs on steroids with engagements and texting. I always thought that that was kind of BS. If a patient's leaving the clinic not engaged, there's nothing that you can do to engage them between sessions. So you have this captive audience while they're there that these high volume clinics are not handling properly. Getting therapists off the laptops, getting them more focused like an out-of-network setting with the long-term incentives we're creating, to me is the ability to change that incentive and get a patient empowered. Like how do you make PT wellness and not work? And that's this long-term solution to compliance.
Thank you both.
Yep.
We are going to skip our break and roll into the next demo. I don't know about anyone else, but my back kind of started hurting after that one. Arthur, I'll invite you up to come talk about Dataland. Arthur and his co-founder, Howard, who's in the audience, have known each other for nearly 10 years and spent probably the last 6 building internal tools, and now they're building their own with Dataland. So,
cool. Thanks, Arian. Hi, everyone. My name is Arthur. Like Arian said, we're building a next-gen internal tools platform. So to jump in, let's say that, well, actually, Amazon just announced their nationwide grocery delivery subscription last week, which is really exciting. But from a logistics standpoint, inevitably, some of these deliveries are going to get delayed, customers will complain, and then demand a refund. So let's build Amazon a tool that lets their support agents see all of their orders and also issue customers refunds if they want them. So I'll go ahead and I'll first connect a Snowflake instance as a data source. We're using Snowflake because, of course, Amazon has a ton of orders. This is just your regular database. So I'll go ahead and add that as a data source. And I'll go ahead and find the orders table. So this is actually 1 billion rows of data coming in from Snowflake. I'll go ahead and import that. And of course, this will take a few minutes to download. So I'll go ahead and skip to the end where we've already have this all imported. So here, we actually see that this is a 1,048,000,000 rows of data. And the cool thing is that Dataland actually loads all 1 billion of these rows easily in the browser. So this is 400 gigabytes of data. I'm scrolling, it's buttery smooth. I can even scroll all the way down to the bottom and see, cool, yep, that's my 1,048,000,000th row. And one cool thing that Dataland does is that we've been really thoughtful about how do employees actually use this? Well, they probably want to see not just an ugly table, but rather color-coded data columns here that help them more easily scan. So color coding for the order status, being able to assign conditional colors based on a number value. Dataland uses AI to auto-classify these display formats and give a beautiful tool every time that you import a table. So let's say that maybe a customer writes in and says, hey, my order has been delayed for like a week. I want to go ahead and cancel this. So Dataland also comes with full text search. I'll go ahead and search for that person's customer ID, so customer 1234567. And just like that, Dataland was able to search all 1 billion rows of this data set and get 104 matches for this customer in 0.1 seconds. So super fast. And let's say that maybe, let's go to maybe the order that they're talking about. And so this is an order that, on the right-hand side here, that I see was 7 days late and is in cancel status, and now they want a refund. So I can go ahead and just click this button, send a refund. Looks like this person's eggplant parmesan that they ordered 3 of is a week late, so it's probably pretty bad at this point. Say eggplant parm was a week late, hit submit, and great. So this part, developers can configure whatever sort of endpoint URL they want to hook up actions to. So in this case, this might be a Zapier webhook or whatever internal API. So moving on, it's pretty common that business users often have new requirements that they want to reshape their existing tools for. So maybe instead of just seeing a flat list of orders, They actually want to see only really delayed orders for VIP customers. And maybe VIP is based on customer lifetime order value. So instead of blocking out an engineer, the support manager can actually just figure this out themselves. So I could ask AI here and say, hey, show all orders with greater than 0 delivery delay. Let's add a column for customer, crazy typos here, customer lifetime order value. Sort that from most to least, and let's show all columns too. And of course, even AI is very forgiving of these typos, which is great. And it'll come back and produce a new view by literally computing a new column of data and sorting by it, as I see lifetime order value here on the right-hand side. And as a result, the support manager is able to get access to an entirely new tool that they can share with their team. Finally, I'd like to show a feature that we have in beta, which is agents. And obviously, agents aren't new, but it's kind of crazy to think about humans clicking around in internal tools hours every day, just doing repetitive workflows. Most likely, they're going to be AI agents that just require minimal human supervision. So I'll go ahead and I'll create a new agent, and I'll call this guy, maybe Bradley. We'll call him the refund assistant. And maybe we'll give Brad this friendly little face. And I'll tell Bradley, hey, I want you to see all orders. If a VIP customer gets an order very late, then send a discount. If a new customer gets an order very late, oh my gosh, very late, then send a full refund. And then if a customer ever complains about food poisoning or sickness, please flag for a delicate handling, because maybe an actual human should get in touch at that point. So we'll leave Bradley in propose actions only mode and then create and run this agent. And so what Bradley will do is it'll go through each one of these orders that's in this queue of data that we've created by asking AI. And we'll determine, hey, for each order, what should we do here in the situation? Sometimes it'll be no action. Sometimes it'll be to send a refund or a discount. And while Bradley's working and churning through each of these orders, I want to say that agents obviously aren't new. That's an amazing concept. But the most important thing is that agents are only as good as its tools that we give it. And the critical thing about Dataland is that we give the agent a fully integrated environment to be able to work with all the data that we've integrated in this workspace, be able to plan and run its own SQL queries, be able to do full text search like I showed very performantly. It has access to the same catalog of actions that human operators are taking in the system. And then also being able to work off the past action history that human operators have taken in the system as well to train it to inform how it should handle future situations. So in this case here, we see, okay, Bradley is saying, hey, for this customer, Alice Guerrero, Bradley is analyzing, Alice's past order history, determines that she is indeed a repeat purchaser, she is a high-value customer, and therefore, let's send that person a discount because they experienced a delivery delay with the current order. So Bradley did a great job here. Hit accept and reject. Again, that feeds back into the model of what the agent is doing. So to recap, what we're able to do is basically just build a full internal tool in a couple of minutes and layer on critical functionality that every internal tool has. Great full text search, really easy to get set up, the ability to ask and refine the table with AI, and eventually agents. So we launched about a month ago. We have about 40 companies using us today, ranging from startups to larger enterprises. And you can try us out today too at dataland.io. My name is Arthur, and my co-founder Howard, also wearing the Dataland tee, will be around to answer any questions. So thanks.
Awesome. Time for a couple of questions, if there are any. Great demo, Arthur.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. All right, so Kevin and Bryan and the Centari team are going to get set up. I think this room is probably familiar with lawyers and legal fees. Anyone?
Unfortunately.
I'm very excited about what these two who met at SPC are building with Centari.
Thanks, Arian.
Is this getting this set up?
Am I audible as well? Okay, I gotta.
Yeah, okay, going close to the mic.
There
Good,
we
everyone
go.
can hear us. Cool, we are Centari. I'm Kevin, CEO of Centari, and in a past life was an M&A lawyer. And this is my co-founder, Bryan.
And I'm still, oh, there we go. Much louder now. I'm Bryan Davis, a software engineer, machine learning engineer, and CTO of Centari.
And Centari is building the platform for deal intelligence. And I'm going to let Bryan share what we mean by deal intelligence.
Well, I think we've already heard a few references to data-powered and data-driven in this series of presentations. I don't think anyone is going to be lacking familiarity with those terms. I like to think about, in my own life and all of our lives, the fact that we've lived through the transformation of many industries by the availability of data and the use of that data to make decision-making. One of my favorite examples is thinking about marketing. Thinking about how when I was born, a lot of marketing was made through intuition, through vibes, through maybe rough estimations of audience size. And now we have quantification of the marginal value of every single impression on Instagram, on TikTok. Another industry here in New York that's been completely transformed by the availability of data, of course, is finance. And thinking about the cajoling and sort of battling egos of finance back in the 80s and the transformation now to a room full of machines making algorithmic decisions about what to buy and what to sell. Kevin and I believe that this same transformation is about to happen for the world of deal making. What's deal making?
What's deal making? So deal making is everything from the office lease that SPC signed for the space to the multi-billion-dollar public company acquisition. So you're looking at a deal right here. This is the merger agreement for the Salesforce acquisition of Slack back in 2020. So this is a very dense 116-page document containing really valuable information about, really valuable data about how did Salesforce and Slack structure this transaction. And this was deal teams coming around the table to negotiate the best economic terms for their side represented in this document. So these types of documents contain really valuable information, both within this individual document, but imagine taking that type of data across a range of merger agreements for a particular vertical. Suddenly you start to see industry trends and insights, the rights and obligations of some of the most powerful institutions in the world. How do they do deals with each other? What's trending in market? So this is incredibly valuable data, but as you can see, it's buried in dense legalese. And even for a lawyer to get that data out of these documents is a manual and tedious process, taking sometimes 6 hours of attorney time to take 116-page merger agreement and turn it into discrete structured information. So Centari is automating that process. And here's our platform. I'm taking that same exact agreement. Here's the Salesforce and Slack merger agreement that we were just looking at. And on the left, you see the agreement. On the right, you see structured data that we have automatically pulled from this agreement with a combination of AI and applied legal research. So clicking into the deal points, we pulled 114 deal points. So from 116 pages of dense legalese into 114 discrete structured deal points. Taking an example, let's go into information about this deal. How did Salesforce pay for this deal? Well, they paid for it with a mix of cash and stock consideration. And I know that because I'm clicking into Centari, it's taking me to the part of the agreement that contains information about the consideration. So this is a really powerful way to turn unstructured data into structured insights. I'll take another example, something called a materiality scrape in M&A. This is a very significant provision. It's the M&A equivalent of when you buy a house that has a leaky roof. It's like, at what point can you make a claim against the seller of that house and say, hey, you owe me money because it had a leaky roof? At what point can Salesforce go to Slack and say, you didn't tell us about that liability? This can be tens of millions of dollars of economic value represented in this single deal point. And we're looking at 114 deal points here, just to show the significance of the scale of this problem, the scale of the value. So when that data has been extracted, we can put it to work at scale in ways that were not possible before. And this is the Centari Navigator. It's an interface for deal teams to, for one thing, visualize their deals chronologically, and then surf through those deals with context. So taking, let's filter it down by a specific range of signing dates and a specific law firm. So any Seinfeld fans, I'm going to go to Sagman and Bennett, and then filter down further by just mix cash and stock consideration. So I've taken 100-something deals and filter it down to just 7, and I'm going to see them side by side. And this is a way to, within that range of deals, so like I'm negotiating across Sagman and Bennett, I want to know how many times did we agree to the materiality scrape for that deal. So we've extracted that information, we've structured it, and now we're delivering it to the deal team at the negotiation table as they're negotiating this transaction with potentially tens of millions of dollars at stake on the line right here. At scale, we can start to see market trends. We're creating visualizations of these deal points, including materiality scrape. And what we're seeing with the law firms, consulting firms we're working with, is that this is not just a way to achieve superior economic outcomes in negotiations, but also to win more business as these firms demonstrate to clients that they have command of their data and an ability to negotiate superior outcomes. So this is a significant revenue driver for firms and a real alignment of incentives between AI applied to professional services here in a place like New York where a lot of deals are happening. So we're excited about this transformation we're seeing in real time and excited to be building Centari.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any questions for Kevin and Bryan?
I assume, I'm just curious, as you've dug into a lot of I'm guessing you're looking quite closely at a lot of M&A contracts. Any like surprising insights you've had through that research process that you hadn't had, I assume in the past life as a lawyer working on these deals?
Yeah, so it's interesting, something that we've seen and the customers we're working have seen is just what it means to make decisions based on data rather than heuristics. So lawyers like to say, this is market because I've seen 15 deals, like never in my career have I seen it negotiated any differently. For anyone here who's done, I'm sure a lot of folks here have done venture financings, probably most of the room, and you have lawyers fighting with each other over the liquidation preference or something like that. So this is a way to bring data to the table in a way that just hasn't happened historically. So what does that mean for lawyers? And lawyers get kind of itchy about this sometimes. It's like, well, our a lot of our value is the fact that we have this built up intuition. And we're changing that with data, but I think it's being reframed now into actually this is going to make you more competitive and actually deliver better client services, and that's the paradigm shift that we're seeing in real time right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin
Thanks,
and Bryan.
everyone.
Thank you.
Now, Charlie and James are going to come up.
We both love the HR space. We both previously had execs to Workday and spent some time there leading different products. And we also know that when HR leaders are asked about their top priorities, leadership development is always near the top of the list. But we also know that when people learn best through deliberate practice, through getting reps in. And our customers know this too. Today, our customers are having managers do role plays with peers as part of management training, which is really awkward for those managers and sometimes quite embarrassing. And they're sometimes actually employing actors to come in and pretend to be managers and direct reports as part of kind of high-touch management training programs. So we think there's a better way to do this with voice AI, and this is the first product we've built as part of an upcoming suite of tools that help managers get better through technology. Excited for you to see that today.
So, like James said, we believe in the power of practice to make great leaders, which is why Speaksage helps managers practice having hard conversations with realistic voice AI characters. I'll start by showing you our just-in-time learning feature, which we call custom scenarios. So imagine you have a really difficult conversation coming up soon, like you have to fire an employee tomorrow, and you're a newer manager, and you're not sure how to do it. So we'll just choose our character's name and voice and set their job title. We'll say how they relate to us, set their mood and personality, describe the history of the situation, how we got here, and our goal in this conversation. And we've prepared this custom scenario for practice. My direct report, Kate, is focused and high-performing, but also abrasive and hard to work with. And she hasn't responded to any feedback. She had another angry outburst in a meeting last week and called her coworker Joel an idiot. And so we are going to have to let her go. So we're ready to practice. And you can see the name and description will kind of fill in as we go. And let's give it a try.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey, Kate, how's it going?
Don't bother with small talk, Charlie. What's this meeting about?
Yeah, Kate, I wanted to talk about that meeting last week with Joel.
What about it? I told him his proposal was nonsense and that he's an idiot for thinking it would work. He can't handle the truth, that's not my problem.
Yeah, Kate, it's totally okay to disagree with Joel's ideas, but at this company, kindness is a really important value of ours, and it's not okay to call him an idiot.
Whatever, I'll watch my language next time, but I'm not promising anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kate, there won't be a next time. We've been giving you lots of feedback on this for months, and nothing's changed, so I'm sorry to say that we are letting you go, Kate.
Fine, I don't care about your building. I'll tone it down, but don't expect me to change my personality.
Again, Kate, this is a final decision. I'm sorry about this, but HR will reach out right after this with next steps. And just like that, we've gotten valuable practice for my very important conversation tomorrow. And I also get immediate feedback to help me improve on what went well, like I tried to align the conversation with the company's values, and what didn't, like I kind of didn't explain specifically what was going on. I can also see how my score breaks down on our skills rubric to see how I'm progressing as a leader, or go to the transcript analysis for specific line-by-line feedback. And we can tailor this feedback for each customer to fit their management philosophies and frameworks. We can do that because it's all generated. We use state-of-the-art models from OpenAI and Anthropic, as well as open source models like Llama, which we both hand-tuned and also generated our own in-house expert training data for fine-tuning. So custom scenarios are great, but many of our customers want a turnkey learning solution for ongoing training or for specific HR-driven moments that matter. So we built a scenario library of 70 pre-built scenarios ready to practice. Our customers want to use it for things like performance reviews, compensation cycles, new manager training, like these basic career conversations, creating a culture of feedback, dealing with difficult situations, and more. And we can tailor this catalog for each customer to make the content fit their business.
Thanks. So as you can see, we've had a ton of fun building this and demoing this to customers. It's early for us. We launched a month ago, and already we're seeing strong enterprise momentum. And to give a sense of use cases, we're working with a large software company who are actually baking Speaksage into their annual performance management cycles. In their words, they have 3,500 managers. Every year or twice a year, those managers have to have critical conversation with employees where they're talking about compensation, hopes and dreams for the future, addressing performance issues in one conversation across the whole company. And there are 1,000,001 things that can go wrong. HR puts out guidance every year, but they can bake in Speaksage, train on that guidance, and have it naturally reinforce the guidance that HR is putting out for those managers. Also working with a national residential property company who are actually using Speaksage to help enable their frontline managers to have difficult conversations with employees on site where they have limited HR support and guidance. This is actually a really big market. Companies are spending over $60 billion on leadership development training alone. This is our first product, and we think there are lots of opportunities here to use AI to help make every manager better. Right now, we're heads down onboarding our first enterprise customers, and we have a strong pipeline of customers who are excited about what we're building. And if you'd like to try a simulation for yourself, you can even fire Kate for yourself, or you can try some different simulations too. You can do that at speaksage.com. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone have a question for Charlie and James?
How do you think about roadmap over time? Do you want to do like performance management and get moving in that direction over time? Or how do you think about where you go from here?
Yeah, I think that for us, we're really excited about leadership and where that goes. And I think a lot of what we see is that the nature of learning and development is going to be changing as we go ahead. So this idea right now where you do this training and then you do your job, we think is kind of going to go away as AI progresses. Like, we'd actually like to build this more into the flow of work for managers. So we're building integrations with like HRIS, performance management systems, et cetera. So imagine that you have a performance review cycle coming up and you have a manager fills out the employee assessment and they rate them a 2, and the employee rates themselves a 7. We can actually push an insight that says, hey, we see a hard conversation coming up. There's gonna be a problem here. You two are about to talk about these 2 totally different things. Let's talk about that. Here's a practice conversation. Here's some tips. We think there's a lot to do with basically getting more proactively into the process of management rather than being this like go to it learning and development solution.
Great. Quick one.
Stay true to, right? For example, I'm an employee and I'm about to have a compensation, like increase my salary, compensation conversation, but the manager wants to have the conversation that, oh, you haven't done very well, right? So who does this LLM stay true to? Is it the managerial workforce or is it the employee? Like, where's the, yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for us, we don't think about it as, one of the things about practice is we're not aiming to make this perfectly real in the sense of we are not the employee, right? And we want the manager to know that. We are not actually the employee and we can't represent them, right? If we're training the manager, we can give them a good practice scenario based on something that's going to be similar, but it's entirely possible. In terms of staying true, we think of it as we want it to be valuable more than we're trying to be like exactly the same as the real world. We want to be helpful for them to learn and grow.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Great. We have Kevin and Saul coming up from Breezy. These two worked together for the last 6 years at 2 companies before this. Breezy is an AI home concierge that takes the manual work out of finding home service providers. So thank you both.
Hi, everyone. Here we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Kevin, and this is Saul. We're building Breezy. Home service marketplaces suck today. They're thin, and they leave most of the work of actually arranging jobs to consumers and pros. As a consumer, you're getting 10 blue links, waiting around and having the same conversations with pros over and over again. With pros, you're chasing the same lead that was sold to 4 others. These leads have uncertain amounts of intent, and you're spending a lot of time actually figuring out what they need to do. That's why we built Breezy. We believe AI agents can make these marketplaces 100 times more efficient. Let's get started. So you've probably been wondering, what's this soundboard doing over here on stage? And you'd be thinking the same thing as we are. It doesn't belong here. We should do something about it. So what we can do is we can go to Breezy, take a picture of this soundboard, and see if we can hire somebody to hang it up. So we'll take this picture, and what's gonna happen here is we're using multimodal agents that can understand exactly and make assumptions to what we're trying to do. So it made some nice guesses, and hang soundboard is actually one of them. Great. We'll click that, and now it's gonna generate a bit more assumptions about the job based on what's seeing in the picture. So I think here it's able to see that the soundboard in the background, there's a brick wall. So it thinks that we want to hang it up on a brick wall. That's correct. And the dimensions seem about right as well, 4 feet by 2.5. We'll go ahead and keep on going. It's going to ask a few more questions. And what's happening here is these questions and the user experience itself is being dynamically generated as we go. It's generated based on what the job is, the information we have so far, as well as the information that we still need, so that we can package it up and send it over to a pro. So here, it'll ask a few more questions that relate to how we can get the job fully arranged. It's my name, my phone number. That's actually my number, so you can text me. We'll do your job for you. We'll put an address. For folks in SF, New York office is 36 Cooper Square. And we'll put in our availability. So once we have availability set, what we can do now is all this information is nicely packaged. We can send it off to the pros. As a consumer, you can see that with this experience, you're able to tell us everything that you need up front when it's convenient for you instead of waiting around having to talk to folks and answer questions as they come at you. On the pro side of things, we're not acquiring pros explicitly. So we don't have the same constraints that traditional marketplaces have. We're able to meet pros where they are today. And one thing that we've learned is that pros, they are on their feet all day. They prefer to communicate asynchronously, and that's why SMS is how we're reaching them. So what you'll see here soon, and we'll switch gears over to the pro side, is the experience as Kevin Handyman. So imagine you're Kevin Handyman, you just got this text message, and it's telling you about this request that we need help with. So what you can do as Kevin Handyman is you can text and talk to our agent when it's convenient for you. And we put these AI agents that can figure out how to negotiate, arrange time, and select pricing from the pro, extract that information from the pro, so that we can package this up and send it back to the customer. So over here, what you can see is, as a pro, you can also take a look with all the information that we've collected so far up front from the customer. You have the task details, the photos, and it looks like we have enough information to go ahead and actually tell us, how much is this going to cost. So I think for this job, probably $50, something that we can do. Looks like an hour, hang it up on the wall. We'll select some availability. So all this availability is the ones that worked for the customer already. And that'll be the end of the pro experience. Let's go back to the customer. So as a customer, let's see how our request is doing. You can go ahead, look at our request, and you'll see that there's 31 pros just in this area we're able to contact for this task. And we've received our first quote from Kevin Handyman. So here it is, $50, and we got the right timing. So imagine over the next couple of hours, we'll be able to receive many more options to choose from. But for now, one click, we'll be able to make this purchase. What we're starting to see is that these agents are actually able to arrange tasks. We've done over dozens of tasks and received hundreds of offers from different pros in the SF Bay Area. So this is super exciting. Check it out, we're live, and you can also get in touch. And join us on our journey. We're hoping to make these opaque marketplaces much more transparent and home services easier for everybody. Thank you.
Great demo. Anyone have a question for Kevin and Saul? Home improvement is certainly on top of everyone's mind here. Oh.
And so can you give an example of some of these opaque marketplaces that you're talking about?
Yeah, we've done jobs for handyman, plumbers, electricians. So kind of home services is where we're starting. One example is we need to change 4 lights, rewire 4 lights. And that typically takes a lot of back and forth to get a quote. Yeah, so the traditional marketplaces are like the lead gen marketplaces, Angie, Thumbtack.
Great demo, thank you guys. How are you thinking about go-to-market? Pros are notoriously hard to acquire, so I'd just love to know how you're thinking about that.
One thing we found is when you're offering jobs for pros, they won't say no to them. And it's a breath of fresh air for them because they're paying $40 a lead on Angie and Handy. So when we're just kind of going up to them, here's a job, you might be interested, they're typically willing to take a first look.
So is that your acquisition strategy? Send them a text to get it?
Yeah.
When you guys send a pro out to a job site, are you taking on any liability for the job, or are you doing insurance verification for all the pros on the platform?
Right now, we're just making the connections. But that's going to be a challenge as we move towards monetization.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
All right, our last demo. Thank you all for sitting in these very comfortable seats. Archit and Sanjeev are going to talk to us about AI travel and the future of travel with AI. These two have known each other for 16 years, and they built something really interesting. I'll let you take it from here.
All right, we have the closing act of the day, the last demo. So I hope you're still as excited as we are. All right. I'm Archit.
And I'm Sanjeev.
We are the co-founders of CoInvent AI. We are building Ariel, which is the future of online travel reimagined with generative AI. Right, so Ariel is a travel agent which is always available for you and can create trips personalized even to your fine-grained preferences. So your TikToks, your Reels, we'll see all of that, but let's get right to the live demo. We are super excited to present in front of all of you. So we start by asking Ariel to plan a 2-week trip to Spain for us and 3 of our friends. It asked me some questions about clarification about the timeline, but let me go ahead and respond with much more here. So let me take a moment to explain what's happening. We are showing off a lot of sophisticated reasoning abilities here. So there are multiple date options which correspond to our requirements. We want to visit Barcelona and Madrid, but we are flexible among the other towns we want to visit. These should be coastal. We are going to have a car domestically in Spain, and we are going to stay with our friend Rahul in Barcelona. There's a whole lot of things going on here. We are only getting started, as you will see. All right, so some personalization questions, and let me, quick show of hands here. How many people interested in soccer? All right, soccer and La Liga, right? So let me share it. I'm interested in soccer, and I want to visit the iconic stadiums in Barcelona and Madrid. Let's give it a moment here. You can basically say whatever you want and have the trip personalized, to your exact fine-grained preferences. All right, so it's already figured out Barcelona, Madrid, a couple of coastal towns for me here. All right, let me add Sevilla, which is another soccer destination, and click on generate. I hope the demo gods are kind to me today. There's a lot going on in the background. So it's first of all, it's figuring out the connections. All right, the connections are coming in one by one. Everything which is domestic is a car, hopefully. Yes, because that's what I told it to do. Everything which is international is a flight because common sense. As we watch some pretty images on the bottom right here, it's actually computing all of the combinations for me. This is the number one kind of request we got from our users. Right? It's very hard to search across dates and times and locations and hotels and flights all at one time. So in the background, it's going to be computing all of these different combinations for me. And again, there's a whole lot going on here. So just, hopefully things go right. All right. So here we have all the 4 date options, which is exactly the ones I asked for, 2-week trips starting on a Saturday in September. The flights are here. The hotels will be here soon. So that's over 20 search forms worth of work, all done and segmented out for me, because there is no reason why we should fill out 20 search forms every single time we travel, right? Sometimes booking travel is worse than the travel itself. All right, so we have hotels for everywhere except Barcelona, and everything is planned out for me very, very meticulously. This is the stadium in Barcelona, so it has highlighted that for me because it remembered my preference. In fact, if I go on edit here, you will see that everything is very meticulously planned out for me, including all the city-to-city transits. So let's give this a second to load here. Yeah. So everything, including all city-to-city transits, are carefully planned out for me, just like I would have done it myself. And wait, looks like I have a message from my friend Rahul here. All right, he says, want to know how Spanish I have become? I call myself Raul now. Sure, anyway.
All right, so looks like he sent us a cool TikTok about Barcelona. Let's check it out. So in Ariel, we made our input multimodal, so you can insert your favorite inspiration content. So let's check out the TikTok.
How to spend 3 days in Barcelona.
All right, so I haven't seen the whole TikTok, but that looks really cool. I want to use it for my trip. So here, Ariel has extracted and mapped out all the activities mentioned in the TikTok. So let's see how we can use it for our trip. So influencer-inspired travel is the biggest trend we are seeing today. And we are catering directly for it by bridging that gap between inspiration and your trip planning. So now Ariel is going to take all the places mentioned there and add it to our trip. While doing so, it's going to make sure it's going to respect our original preferences of visiting the Barcelona stadium, as well as anything else we've entered. At the same time, it's going to know the TikTok was only about Barcelona, so it only updates the plan for Barcelona while keeping everything else same. And with a click of a button, now we have an updated itinerary. Cool, so Ariel is not just a chatbot. Every single aspect of your trip is customizable. It can also be added as context in the chat. So in this example, we add Camp Nou to the chat, and we ask Ariel to add a restaurant after it. It needs to have vegetarian options. So Ariel is going to go ahead and find restaurants for us. All right, the first one looks cool. Let's add it to our trip. And just like that, we have a fully planned and completed trip, and we can go ahead and book it. So I'm going to end with a question. So today, over 1 billion trips are booked online annually. The average traveler spends over 5 hours in planning and booking their trip. So in the future, are we still going to be spending that amount of time in doing this, or will we have much smarter tools like Ariel to drastically cut down that time? Thank you for attending our demo, and we hope you'll join our waitlist at coinvent.ai.
Thank you. Thank you to our demo. Any quick questions? Oh, we already have one. Get back there.
Yeah, the good thing about travel is that monetization doesn't have to have a freemium model even. There's a lot of brokerage fees involved. And yes, you can go ahead and book all the packages. Of course, the product is not live yet, so it will be live in a month or so. And we look forward to you booking a lot of trips as well.
Awesome. I think that's it. Thank you both. I'm just going to say a quick thank you to everyone for coming out to our first Demo Faire in New York. Give one more round of applause to all of the presenters this afternoon.